Susan, you can call the meeting to order. Allison will be back, and that's
When
fine.
we'll get started. Okay. Sounds good. This meeting is called to order of the Ad Hoc Committee on, and we'll take roll call to start.
Alderdorf here.
Chris Weary is excused. Clerk Teskey.
Here.
Chief of Staff Jeffries.
Here.
Terry Racine.
Here.
Karen Schley.
Here.
Susan Smith is here. H. Smith.
Here.
And Professor Allison Stodinger.
She's here.
She's here,
Yeah.
but logging back in.
Yeah.
First item is the approval of the agenda.
So moved. Celestine.
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda as printed?
Aye.
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 And, okay. There were and anyone opposed? No. Quick question, just so I know, is there supposed to be something that appears so we know if people are voting, or is it just by voice vote?
So
It's by voice vote unless someone requests for a board vote, then I have to start that, then you can go in and vote with the board. But
Okay,
normally
well,
I think with the smaller ones, we just do voice votes, I think, I'm not sure.
Okay, that makes sense. Sounds good. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
To approve. I actually read them. I found them and read them.
I'll second.
Moved by Alder Dorff, second by Terry Racine. All those in favor of approving the minutes for the May 14th, 2020 meeting?
aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? No, so unanimous in favor. And we'll start with the regular business now. The first item for regular business is number 1, appeal to the election from the first Tuesday of the month to the first Saturday. And this was referred by Alder Scannell.
That is correct.
Yes, Alder Dorff.
My thought on this would be that this isn't really our role. I mean, that's kind of how I feel. This isn't our role, but it could be the role of city council. And so if I were to take action on this, but it doesn't say consideration with possible action on it. So maybe we can't take action on it. But my advice would be to refer this to city council to discuss at their next meeting.
And is that a motion, Alder Dorff?
I can make it as a motion. Okay, it just because usually it has to say action and it doesn't say that. But okay. I would like to move that we refer item 1 to city council to discuss.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and a second by Chief of Staff Jeffries. Any further discussion? I would add my 2 cents to that too. I think that's the right action. I don't think that's the role of this committee necessarily. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that.
I agree.
Different? Okay. Then we'll vote on referring this item number 1, appeal to the state to move the election from the first Tuesday of the month to the first Saturday to city council. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I'm sorry, was there an aye opposed?
Yeah, no, I was saying
Okay.
yes.
Okay, all in favor, so it passes and it's referred back to the city council. Item 2 is another referral, and this one is appeal to the state to facilitate mail-in voting. And this also is Alder Scannell. Yes, Alder Dorff.
I would say the exact same thing, that this is something that I think that city council could discuss. And, I don't think this is our role. We're looking at an ad hoc committee on elections. So my motion would be to refer to city council.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Chief of Staff. So
have a
number
question.
2, yes.
I have a question though. Who are you referring that to? Committee of the whole, or do you want to specify committee? Or who's gonna?
See, we
tell
are a
us-
committee. And so Alder Scannell sent this to us, I believe, feeling that we're a committee. Now, I would say it would go to his protection, I would go to protection and policy, because I would
Okay.
think it'd be a policy. So I would be glad to amend my motion to refer to protection and policy.
Okay.
But Celestine?
Oh, no, I don't have anything. I'm just thinking, I was just trying to think where I copied this from. I copied these two, I can't recall. Chris, do you recall if the
I
3 and
sent it.
4, you sent those to me? Right, okay.
He
so I
sent
didn't
them
copy
to me and I sent them to you.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, okay, so
And
then,
did
I just
they
think we're
come
not the
from
right-
protection and policy?
yes.
I think they did. So I would think, I would send it back. I would send it to the full council because I think it's already been to protect policy.
Oh, has it? Oh, I didn't know that.
So
No, the
it was not.
3 and 4 have been to,
I don't remember. Celestine.
3 and 4 have been to protection and policy. Isn't that correct, Chris? I'm looking this up
Correct.
right now.
Yes, 3 and 4
1 and 2
have
has
that.
not.
Yeah, so
Okay.
1 and
Okay.
2 have not. So you want to amend your motion from the last one to refer that number 1 to protection and policy, and then,
I would like to actually amend my motion for the first one. And can we go back to that, Chair?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'd like to amend my motion to refer to protection and policy, to appeal to the state to move the election from the first Tuesday of the month to the first Saturday.
second.
So do we have to vote on the amendment first and then vote on the motion?
I think so. And
Okay.
Chief
But
of
I need a
Staff Jeffries
second.
seconded the amendment. So all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, no opposition. And so now we vote on the motion, correct?
Yes.
And this is on number 1. So this is referring number 1 as it reads in the agenda, appeal to the state to move the election from the first Tuesday of the month to the first Saturday. We refer that to protection and policy. All those in favor?
I need a second.
Oh, I'll second that.
Oh,
sorry.
second.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, and as stated and seconded by Chief of Staff Jeffries, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, so it passes. That's being referred to protection and policy. And now number 2, we did not vote on, so.
Right. So I'll just change my motion in number
Okay,
2.
that's
I'll
fine.
just change it, and I would like to refer this item to protection and policy.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay.
And then
By Terry Racine, I'm sorry?
My other question then is, so it's not out there floating in Never Never Land, who is gonna send this to PNP?
I'll
just-
copy it on the agenda.
You will? Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Okay,
do that.
thanks.
Sure.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of sending number 2, appeal to the state to facilitate mail-in voting to protection and policy, all those in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? No opposition, so that's going to protection and policy. And now we're on to number 3. Number 3, consideration with possible action to review the policies and procedures for curbside voting for the remaining 2020 election and how to communicate curbside voting information to all voters and poll workers in Green Bay. And that was referred to us by Alder Vanderleest. And it sounds like this one was at protection and policy or has been there. Okay.
Right, it was. And it was my recommendation to them that they refer this to our committee because I think we're going to be working on this, or I think maybe Clerk Teske, are you working on this? If I can
Well,
ask.
Not really, because, and I guess I'll get your input on this. Curbside voting, there's actually step-by-step process through the Wisconsin Elections Commission. That's what we followed all along. Appointments are not necessary. Our issue is, and Karen, like she said when she talked to the news media, is she's been doing it for 20 years, never been an issue. Normally when somebody needs curbside voting, they pull up, another person normally is with them, and that person goes in and says, we have curbside voting. So then 2 people go out to the car, and they have to make sure that they're registered. If they're not, then they register them, and then they would get them a ballot then. And once the person, yeah, the whole shebang, only outside, but don't bring the poll book along. And then once the ballot is voted, then the 2 people go back in, they put it in the machine. They have to go in and state the name and address of the person that the ballot's going in. Mm-hmm. So the ballot goes in, then they have to go back out and tell them everything was fine. Because if there's an error, they would have to get a second ballot or a third. The issue,
sorry.
That's okay. The issue that Sandy Juneau brought up is she thought they should make an appointment or have a sign out there saying, call this number. Well, we don't have phones at all the polling locations. People use their own phones. Some don't have them. So somebody else has it. Kim and I, we know if they're really busy, they don't hear that phone. Even though we tell them over and over, please have your phone available. That's, so I guess my thought is we keep it the way we had it. If a person's coming alone, they got in their car, they can come in, we will get them a chair. And then we will have them sit until they would be up to the front. That's, I guess I don't, yep.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Susan?
Alder.
Okay. But you might go from your house. Like my parents, when they were alive, had a little elevator and it took them down and then they went in their car. Now, picturing UW Green Bay, oh my, no, they couldn't walk probably all the way from the car. So we took them early, it doesn't matter, but I don't think that we can assume that just because they got in their car, they could get all the way inside to ask for help. But
it's ADA accessible. It is considered ADA accessible. So anyone that doesn't want to do that should plan ahead. I mean, the WEC does say that people do have to take responsibility at some point. I'm just.
Yes, Terry.
I'm opposed to letting the public know that I don't think we should be making curbside the main choice. The easiest selection is absentee, and people have to, that's where I wanted the accountability thing brought up for today. Voters have to be accountable for the choices they make. And the easiest option is absentee. That goes right to their door, and they have ample time to sign up. I think curbside should not even be promoted. It should be.
Let me just say, Chair, if I may.
Chief of Staff Jeffries.
Thank you. Terry, forgive me. You had sent that to me. Your item for today, I put it on the agenda and I'm looking like, oh no, it's off. We will consider your item next week. Please forgive me. That is not on there. So sorry about that. But yeah, so I just wanted to, sorry. Yeah, we will consider that next week.
But I would be totally opposed to us advertising curbside voting. Even when we talked about the drive-through voting, this is in hindsight. I don't always have things come to head until I dwell on it for a while. I honestly think if they ever went to drive-through voting, which would be the biggest inconvenience for the poll workers, I think I would stop working. Because we have the easiest option for all voters, and that's absentee. And that's up to them to choose to do it. If they don't make that choice or procrastinate, they have to live with the choice they made.
Curbside voting is more for like the day before you broke your leg and you didn't realize that you planned on coming in to vote, but now you can't. It's not to be somehow it got kind of advertised, and I think people thought they could roll up and get like a McDonald's burger and vote. and I don't know where that came from on election day. Normally it's not. Once in a while, an older man will come in, and in the course of 20 years, I think I did 2 or 3, and he'll say, my wife doesn't feel good today. Could you? Oh, absolutely. And we take care of them. But, you know, I don't think it should be advertised either. It should be there and available, but not really promoted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chief of Staff Jeffries?
So I completely agree with what Terry and Karen and Chris said. You know, people are confused that curbside voting is synonymous with drive-through voting. And
Yeah, there was confusion.
major confusion. And, you know, there were, you know, social media pictures of people, so poll workers standing with, you know, orange vests underneath some sort of tent thing, and people driving up and voting that way. And somehow
Excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah, no, please.
But I almost got hit by a car when I was out doing it because a guy zoomed by and then pulled me back. And
yes. And what is very important for people to understand about curbside is that it is, even though there is no definition of handicapped, right? But essentially, it is for people who do not have the ability to come into the polling location.
right.
And that does not mean also that the person who has a different ability cuts the line. So
Right.
this is not about people there is no there is no appointment for voting. It's first come, first served. And then if you have a different ability and you need to curbside vote, which is fabulous and important for us in Wisconsin to expand the franchise, but that does not mean you cut the line. Here's the other issue. If you are concerned that you are going to be exposed to the virus, does that make you a handicapped person? Well, I believe, Chris, Kim, I believe the state law doesn't really say. So that means that I can say, yep, I am a person with different abilities because I have vulnerabilities. I'm not coming in that polling location. But that still means you have to have somebody come in there and wait online like everyone else.
So,
We do not, yes, Alderdorf. I was just
no,
going to,
please,
you
go
don't
ahead.
have a motion in front of the committee at the
I was going to
moment?
do a motion.
Okay, great. Alderdorf.
Oh, my motion would be, it's called receive and place on file. And this is a motion for the lay people here that we've talked about something, we've discussed it, we've looked at all the options, and we've decided that we're just going to file this for right now. And we're going to accept it, we're receiving it. So I'm going to move to receive and place on file. And if someone wants to call it to the floor at the council meeting, they still can do that. But my motion would be to receive and place on file.
Great. Yep. Second by H. Smet, please. And all those in favor of receiving and file number 3 on the agenda of regular business?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No one opposed. Any other information or discussion? Okay, we'll move on since we voted on it. I should have asked for more discussion before we voted, but I think we discussed prior to. Number 4 on the agenda, consideration with possible action that be made and implemented by July 20th to avert any future problems with in-person voting and absentee voting. This is to include training of staff and volunteers, acquisition of necessary equipment, establishment of secondary voting sites, and any other resources needed. And this was, it looks like, referred to us by Alder Bill Galvin. And it sounds like that came from Protection and Policy.
Isn't that what we're doing, though? I'm sorry. I mean, that's what this committee is for. We don't want to repeat what happened in April, and I don't feel good about it. But in all reality, reality, the only thing that didn't get done was not all the ballots got mailed. If they wouldn't have extended the request date by a day and then cut us short, it would have been implemented and it all would have been done. But due to it, I mean, so now we're taking plans. People are asking way in advance, which is nice. I've got a nice stack right behind me about this tall, of requests already. So, I mean, and the WC is hopefully making some changes to the program to make it more efficient as well.
Alder Dorf.
So I know that I thought there's even that deadline, that 30 days before you have to have your polling locations published, right? Because that was mentioned last time. And it's also, but if we put June 20th, things might be different for the November. I wonder, and I don't think he was being specific to the August election. I think he meant both elections.
Okay,
But
and July 20th, but.
yeah, the July 20th day. But the August election, he can't, something could change by November, right? I don't know. Well, I think Chris Teskey knows, though. You can call on her.
Yes, Clerk Teskey.
The county is the one that publishes for us, and they ask far in advance. As you can see what I sent today, they're going to be asking that very soon. The 30 days would be then, if they would publish what we normally have, then if we changed it, we would have to republish. So this is a cost savings, and I'm sure probably next week she'll be sending that to me. So just so you're aware.
Mm-hmm.
What
Okay.
day do you need it by? What day do we need to have our polling, our committee? What day do we need to have polling locations?
I'd have to ask the county on that.
Oh, I thought you got something today. I'm sorry. I
Well-
misunderstood.
We're going to talk about that later. They want to know our extended hours and things like that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say that I would make a motion if we would be ready for a motion at this point to
I think
receive and place on.
Allison
Oh,
wanted-
I'm sorry. Allison wants to talk. Sorry.
Well, you
Can
can
I
make
just
a
ask a
motion.
point of clarification? Oh, that's fine too, yeah.
Go ahead, Professor.
I just wanted a clarification on how you all understand what is meant by secondary voting sites in here. I just didn't understand what that meant.
Nor do I. That's why I would say receive and place on file.
Okay, is that your motion, Alder Dorf?
That's my motion.
Motion by Alder Dorf to receive and place on file number 4, and I won't reread it again. Is there a second?
Second.
Yes, Professor Staudinger, and then discussion on this item. Any more discussion? I would also add, I wasn't sure what was meant by secondary voting sites. But I do think that this sums up some of what the committee is doing. So I think as we go forward, we'll hit on some of these subjects. Yes,
I think
Chris?
maybe I'm guessing, but the secondary voting sites, I know Kathy Alder LaFave brought up more in-person voting sites ahead of time. I'm thinking that's maybe, but we've decided not to do that because we don't have anywhere to go with it.
Right. And to be specific, that's more in-person absentee early voting.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Alder Dorf.
Normally, when an alder sends something to committee, one expects that alder to show up to the committee and give an explanation of what they want. And if they don't, the most likely thing that the committee will do is receive and place on file. We'll talk about it, but we don't even know what else do they want with it because they didn't come. So I think that we'll be fine with receive and place on file.
Okay, perfect. Any other discussion? I don't want to cut it off. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, all in favor. We'll move to number 5. Number 5 is discussion with possible action on the creation of subcommittees, and the 3 likely subcommittees are spelled out. I'm happy to give an explanation of this. I don't know if we want to start with a motion so then we can discuss, which is, I think, traditional, but
It is. But sometimes we do it backwards at city council too. We discuss before a motion. But I was taught you make
I'll
your
say
motion, then
motion
you
to
discuss.
approve.
right.
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry.
Second. She motioned to approve.
Got it. Okay. And so,
I'm sorry.
Celestine.
and then Alderdorf was the second.
Thank you.
Sure. And discussion on this. So it was mentioned at the last meeting, should we have subcommittees or not? And I spoke with Alderdorf during this past week, and we thought, and I'll let her speak for herself, obviously, but I thought that having subcommittees where we can actually be doing work, so we're not just hearing reports from Clerk Teskey and Kim Waite, they're very helpful and everything, but we want to actually be helping and volunteering and doing some work to assist with this committee. So we came up, and these committees obviously can be moved around or changed, or if you want to be on a committee that's not named, certainly speak up. Now is the time. But these are the three that we thought would be very helpful. Polling Places Subcommittee, and Alderdorf is already, I think she hit the ground running last Thursday evening after our meeting, and she can report on that, but she's already working on that with Clerk Teskey, and then she can explain why she thought other staff members from the city would be helpful. Second committee would be poll workers, retention, and recruitment. I've reached out to Alder Wary, and I know he's traveling, so I haven't actually touched base with him, but I would suggest he would co-chair that with me, and that we would have Karen and Terry on it if that's acceptable. And again, these are suggestions. You can volunteer or not, or if there's a different committee you want to serve on. And the idea behind this one is, and I've talked to Clerk Teskey about this already, is finding out with the poll workers that we have now, who is comfortable working or not working for these elections, understanding that this is an extraordinary, unprecedented year. And then also starting the work to recruit new poll workers if our numbers are so low that we would need additional recruits, basically. And so I've started talking to Chris Teskey about that. I have some ideas about that. I know that Alder Wary does as well. Clearly, because Terry and Karen have both worked elections before, you would be valuable input on that committee. And then the last committee is, and we should probably add to this committee, but it's early in-person absentee voting and also absentee ballot. So it would encompass both the in-person early voting that takes place at City Hall, and correct me, Clerk Teskey or Alderdorf if I'm wrong, but the early in-person absentee voting as well as the mail-in ballot. So the request of an absentee ballot that's mailed to your home. So this committee would encompass that. And the idea there would be to make sure every single voter in Green Bay knows about these two options prior to the election, well in advance of the election, so they can request their ballots very early, or they can, if they want to do an in-person voting, but they want to do it early, they know where to go, the hours, etc. So that would, and it would certainly be reaching out to underrepresented groups that we talked about last meeting. So with that brief explanation, I'll open it to the floor for discussion. Yes, Clerk Teskey.
So Alderdorf, you have Park and Rec and DPW. Can you explain that?
Sure.
Okay.
I wanted them to know that there would be possibly an expectation that they would be helping to make the plastic shields. And if we needed to get heaters or fans in some of the locations, that we would be expecting those departments to help with that. And
Okay.
so it can't just be the clerk's department. We need some of the other departments to step up and to help.
Okay.
So that's why especially if we're going to use park pavilions, some park pavilions, I would want parks involved with it, and then having responsibility for locking, unlocking, making sure things got cleaned up. So that's my reasoning for wanting somebody represented from each of those departments.
Okay, because I just want to kind of tell me if I'm talking too much, but I want to tell you that, we have what we call election techs. So normally we have 5, but this last time we were down to 3 and only 1 helped before and after. He wouldn't help the day of. So that's why Terry and Karen each got one at their polling site. So they start working on the Monday, not the Monday before the election, but the Monday prior, okay? So they work on all the machines to make sure that they're good, up and running, and the express votes that they're running. We do the public tests. Then on Fridays, well, Thursdays or Fridays, they'll come in because we, depending on how many polling locations we have huge bins that we put the poll books in, we put supplies in. And so then normally Kim does that. And that takes her quite a while. And then they come, and if they can drop it off at a polling location on Friday, they do that. Otherwise, they have to wait till Monday. And then they take the machines and everything out then too. They do use DPW and park vehicles. They do use one from the school board. And so just so you're aware that DPW and Parks has been wonderful. The park department also helps those guys when they pick up the bins and deliver, and then the day after when they go back and pick up everything. So, and we pay overtime to them. So I don't know how that's going to work money-wise, if they're going to charge us for labor and things like that. But I just want you to be aware, there's a lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Alder
I'm glad to hear that. I would believe that there would be extra work, particularly if we get down to needing to use the bin or the Triangle Hill Pavilion or the Colburn Park Pavilion. We will, need them to be supportive of that, and more people will need to be assigned. So my thoughts are going to be like a director or assistant director, a position like that. Someone that can say, okay, all right, we'll get this done. We'll get the heaters. We'll get this. We'll do that. So I'm not thinking of just anybody off the street. I'm thinking Director Grenier or his representative, or Director Ditchite or his representative.
Yeah,
so that,
and maybe they could mark the floor then if we're going to the 6 feet.
We can think about all that when we have our committee, okay? When we have our committee meeting. There's lots we got to think about, but that's why I wanted them in that committee.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, H.
One of the things I like the committee idea, and I actually had talked to a few places, and they had shown interest of potentially being a polling location. So I referred that over to that committee. Is that, I don't want to be in all the committees, I really don't. But is it, and I don't know the rules, so that's why I'm asking, can we, if they ask for assistance, because I was going to call all of the COVO volunteers, I think like 90 some of them, to see if they'd be poll workers and try to help out the other committees, or do I have to be on that committee to do that?
No, in fact, I think because we have such a small committee, 9 people to start with, if you can help with other committees, and I don't anticipate that there would be another subcommittee meeting every week because there's so much going on. So some of this will just be, you're talking, you're hearing about polling places, you give that information to Alderdorf, or when you're calling about polling, COVA volunteers. I actually talked to Clerk Teskey about where on the website you find information on how to be a poll worker. So I could share that with you, or you could, so we share information. I don't see these subcommittees as adding another layer of meeting and time on people, because I realize everybody's volunteering for this, but it's a way to, what I do foresee is us reporting back from, in these areas, here's what's going on with the polling places. This is what we've figured out this week. And some of it may just be one person calling polling places. Like I said, Alderdorf already started with that this week. So yes, you don't have to be on the committee to help people, pass information on, so.
And that's the reason why Alderdorf, I sent that information to you. So I saw that on there. I'm going to send it to you so that I'm going to the right committee. I don't want to do that. And then, I did want to, and Chris, I wasn't trying to bypass you. I just saw that Dorf was there, and I'm like, I want to give it to her so she's aware of it.
I understand.
And then going from there. I apologize, but I just didn't want to step on toes by going, I'm just going to start bypassing everyone and just pointing. No. So, but no, if there's a need for poll workers, I know of at least, I'm taking off and I'm taking off work and I'm going to be a poll worker.
Yes,
Because it's that.
Thank you.
So I already got approval, so all I have to do is fill out the form once I get my printer working. But yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, just let me know where there's a need and I can start reaching out. But I like the idea of subcommittees.
Yes, Clerk Teske, and then Celestine.
So, H, I did get the one for St. Willibrod. The only reason why I haven't responded yet is, I don't know if everyone knows, but there's contracts for polling locations. And Celestine and I and one of the attorneys that isn't with the city anymore had to do one for the Kroc Center. It was very specific. The other ones are back from before me and they're very generic. So I did send it to Vanessa because I wasn't sure if there's anything during this different time, if the city needs to have something in the contract saying, yes, we'll clean after, no, we won't. You know, I just want to make sure that we are, that everyone's on the same page for polling locations. So I will get that as soon as I get it from the law department, or it can go to Alderdorf then. I like that. I'm pointing to the screen saying there's Alderdorf. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm taking tomorrow off. Okay.
All right. Yeah, Jeffries.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a word about walking quorum. So anytime that you share information. So an excellent example is H sharing a list of people who could be a list of places that can be potential polling locations, sharing that one way with Alderdorf, you're great. Having a conversation, H and Alderdorf, that's fine. But when you get to more than half of the committee, which is 5 people, talking, communicating, that actually is now an open meeting. So just be wary. Sending information one way, fine. Having a conversation with 1 or 2 other people, you're on your own, fine. When it gets to expanded to be more like 5 people, 4 people, then really it's a public meeting. Just to let you know.
Great, thank you. And then Professor Staudinger, and then Alderdorf, you had your hand raised?
Well, I just wanted to clarify that we can talk here, okay?
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't mean that.
Because this is the public meeting.
Right.
Right, this is a public meeting. So we can talk amongst ourselves here. We just can't outside of here. But maybe you guys knew that, but maybe you didn't. I don't know.
Yes, Clerk Teske.
So I just want to say I did send out an email to the poll workers, the existing poll workers on Monday. Not all of them have emails, so one of the other staff was calling them. So can I give an update as to what we have right now? And the other question I had was, Celestine, did Jared and Terry start calling?
Yes, I'll when we get to number 8, I'll tell everybody.
Okay. Do you want me to give the update on polling or wait?
Actually, why don't we do the update under F, informational number 2? I think that's polling locations update and number of poll workers. This technically, the motion before us right now is to approve these subcommittees as we've specified them. So if somebody, for instance, wants an additional subcommittee, or if they want to serve on a different subcommittee, or they don't want to be a co-chair, now would be the time to discuss that. And then we'll vote on number 5, which is creating the subcommittees. And then we'll get to the meat of the polling places and the status of poll workers a little bit later in the agenda. So if there's any more discussion on creating, does anyone not want subcommittees or want a different subcommittee that we haven't mentioned? Okay, any other discussion on this? If not, we'll vote. Oh, Terry?
Yeah, I don't know if I would have time for any more meetings because I'm already part of our neighborhood association and I do a church thing once a week. And now I add this, so I have 3 nights a week that are gone. So I'm very, very apprehensive about being on another committee that could possibly have meetings.
Sure, and that's why I specified that I don't necessarily think we'll have, since we're already meeting once a week with this committee, I think this would be sort of a small working committee. So for instance, if we needed information on poll workers, on opinions from poll workers, we'd turn to you and to Karen and say, what about this? Do you think this would work? Do you think that would work? Obviously, small group, one person, two people. But I don't, unless somebody correct me if they have a different opinion, but I don't anticipate us having additional subcommittee meetings because it would be, I think, too much on people's volunteer time to start with. This is sort of a way to look at how we go about actually doing work or doing something that is constructive, and then a way to report back each week on sort of how we're doing with recruiting poll workers and polling locations, et cetera.
Okay. And you have Karen on that one too? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Clerk Teske?
The only thing I worry about is I don't want to waste anyone's time. So when you come up with these ideas, which I love, or if you go a route and think, okay, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Can you double check with Kim or I just to make sure that we're not going down the wrong path or anything, legally, or reasons for something, like even the poll workers, some will say, are you doing shifts? Some places do 3 shifts a day. There's no way, unless I would have another staff person, or if you guys want to stay on this forever with me, that you could make those calls. Because when we deal with like 300 full-time people, that would be 600 if we did split shifts. It would be even more if we did third shifts. So, we're doing second shifts by people, we're not offering it, but we're saying yes, and then we'll try and fit them together. The ideal thing is if 2 people would do a split that know each other. So if someone wants to do a half day, if they could find a friend that would do the other half, kind of thing. I'm just afraid that you're going to put all this work into something that might not work.
Right. No, we'll definitely, I see this as more of additional arms for you and Kim. So we'll be checking in with you. We would not do anything outside. And of course, we'd always bring it back to the full committee, and you are here. So you would be able to say, no, that wouldn't work. Or
thank you. Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll vote on number 5. All those in favor of forming the subcommittees as stated in agenda item 5?
Aye.
And any opposed? And seeing no opposition, it passes. We'll move on to number 6, discussion with possible action on identifying costs for the upcoming election, including personal PPE, personal protective equipment for poll workers, equipment to facilitate faster tabulation of votes, and other equipment for polling locations. And this includes heaters, fans, and access ramps. Alder Dorr.
Well, I was thinking part of this is a little bit the cart before the horse, because we don't have the polling locations all identified yet. So we can't do part of that. But maybe this is more of a repeating item on the agenda. But Clerk Teske, I think, has to have a lot of the input to this one, because maybe we could just ask her to come up with things that are absolutely needed. And I know City Council already passed some funding at the last City Council meeting, at least $20,000 or more. We attached it to the administrative cost of the grant that we're getting from the CARES grant. So there'll be $79,000 total in that. That may not all go to elections. There might be other pots of money that we are able to get for elections as well. So is this more like a running discussion item, like that Clerk Teske would bring back to us and say, okay, we need to buy a tabulator. I thought we talked about that last time. And then we got the polling locations identified. this one needs a ramp, this one needs a heater, this one needs, a fan in August. Is it more of a rolling discussion? I don't know how we can even know this tonight.
Right. Or maybe informational even. Yes.
Yes, maybe. But
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I guess a couple things. The reason why I'm looking over here is I'm looking at the agenda, so I'm not
yeah, me
looking
too.
outside or anything. So first of all, the high-speed tabulator, we cannot get that. They ran out last year, and they won't have any new for 2021. Imagine that, Celestine, right? They would have more DS200s. I don't know if renting them like 2 times is like buying one.
Is it?
There's a limited amount on those too. The thing is, the WEC is going to take their time on all this when we need answers now. And that's our issue, because if we would have more time, like we did, to count the ballots, that would be huge. Otherwise, I do plan on having a lot of teams and then have just one person continuously putting in at central count, putting the ballots in. So I'm thinking, 5 machines, at the most 10,000 a piece. Not sure how fast they're going to go. It depends if they work. So I'm not sure what to do with that right now. If we would go down from 31 polling locations, I already had to send what I needed for ballots and how the USBs are programmed to the county. I was thinking if we didn't have as many polling locations, we might have a few extra machines just for the bigger. I'd have to, I'm getting too technical, but I'd have to have the county do a whole citywide for like one big ward. And then we could use that machine and that would go to another machine. It's complicated, but I already had to get that in already for them to take care of it. So I didn't have a choice. The other thing is, the ADA audit. So Celestine, do you think it'd be possible to have RISC do the audits from now on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That's good.
I don't have a
And
pen.
it's the audits, just so everybody's up to speed on the polling place, the new polling places. Is that what we're talking about?
The new ones. It's a 27-page report. And then, because once we have those, then if something isn't right, like if it could even be a pothole in the parking lot, the city would be responsible for fixing that. If there is there's measurements you have to take if there's a lip to get in the door. And if that doesn't meet criteria, we have to fix it with a little ramp. I do have, I think, 1 or 2 downstairs, and the guys at the West Side Garage that help me have stuff over there too. But we either fix it, the city's responsible to fix it, or we move on to a different place. A big thing we were finding, which really isn't a big deal, is the handicap spots. They're not marked properly, and we have to have at least one, depending on the amount, that has van accessibility, not just, a sign, but one that has van accessibility. So after that audit, we'll know a lot more on what we need there if we're going to go with the polling location. Okay.
With a new one, right?
With
Okay.
new ones, yes.
Chief of Staff Jeffries?
I think that I think it makes sense for this item to be an constantly updated informational item. I think I'm very disappointed to hear about the faster tabulator. Very disappointed, but so there's some things that we can know today. There are some things that we can't know unless we have a polling location. So one thing we can know today meaning like next week, is how much it would cost for PPE for each of the poll workers, right? and basically to define what PPE means. So, for instance, do we provide, this committee is planning for the worst and hoping for the best, right? So we provide, that means gloves. Does that mean gowns? Does that mean the face shields? Does that mean not the cloth mask, but surgical masks? And then providing that for someone, each person. So I think that's something that we could start with, especially because if we are going to attract and retain poll workers, we have to have, and this is something I think Allison, you were talking about last week, we have to give them some, a better understanding of how we're going to keep them safe. The other part of the PPE, I think, is the cough guards, which I know our Park Shop has made some of, and we can order some too. So I think we should start there. And I think, moving outward from there to the polling locations, because indeed, we won't know what equipment is needed at a polling location until Risk can do an audit and say, yeah, that's good. Yeah, we can use that one, or no. So let's not even bother to figure out what equipment we would need in order to make in order to make a polling location habitable for 24 hours. So that is what I would suggest, that we start with the PPE. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I don't know, did the mayor share with you, Celestine, what came out of yesterday's
No.
meeting with the WEC?
No.
Okay, sorry about that. I sent it to Diana because we thought we were going to get reimbursed some money for April,
And we're not.
We're not.
This is
No.
just for, and that money, that $7.3 million that went to the state is for only federal elections. So that's August and November, right? Or no?
Well, they deadlocked on a lot yesterday, except there's one thing they didn't, but, and I can't see it changing, but when you have three of one party, three of the other. They are talking about getting that stuff for us, which makes me nervous.
I saw that, yes.
And when you say that
Because-
stuff, the PPE, the protective.
The mask, the gloves, the hand sanitizer. I've been telling people, the poll workers, that we're going to have mask, gloves, and the sneeze shields for sure, because to me that's just a given. But waiting for the WEC, like we did the last time, I went ahead and bought the things I could find. The WEC, we didn't know until the Friday before. That's when they delivered the stuff. So I'm worried, I don't know if they're just going to give us money to cover it or if they're going to supply it. So this is where I worry is, what if we go and buy all that stuff and then get it free? Then what? It's just like it was in April. They can't make decisions. And then once they make a decision, it's going to be all this suing and arguing, and we need to get stuff done. So I just want you to be aware of that, how much money we're actually going to get. Like the county said, maybe we won't even get anything, and they'll keep it all and use it. So I just want to throw that out there so that we all kind of take note of what's happening at the WEC, to realize what, they were even talking about getting us poll workers. So just so you're aware of that. I don't know how much doubling up is going to happen because we are going to plan ahead.
Uh-oh. Alder Dorff? Looks like screen's freezing a little
Is
bit.
everybody frozen, or is that just me?
Yeah, no, people are freezing.
Okay.
Mine has
No,
been.
mine was
Whoa.
too.
Okay. Oh, now my internet connection's unstable. That's crazy. Is it working now? I'm in a
Minus
different
two.
place. Can you hear me?
So we can hear you, it's just
Okay,
that you're
so
frozen.
everybody's
Fine.
unstable.
It's all right.
All right, I'll just talk. And here, because we're talking about costs, but there's also been some discussion between one or two of us on two things that would have a huge impact on costs. And those two things are reducing the number of polling places down to 5 or 6 on each side of the river. So 10 to 12 polling places total, and reducing the number of poll workers to between 50 and 100. And then that really brings the amount of money down that we need to plan for. And so it's hard to know what order to go in when we're talking about these things, but it almost seems like this discussion should come a little later on. Does anybody want to agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, I think so, because you were going to give a report number 8 about the polls, and I think that's sort of where this all starts, right? The number of polling places, where they're located,
yeah.
whether they're new or old one. So we technically do not,
I wonder
and I
if
know
we
I'm
should, maybe, can
technical,
we
but
amend the agenda?
a motion. We could, or we could simply move, we're on number 6, and we could either file, right? You taught us that, Alderdorf. Or we could amend the agenda if you wanted to do that. I leave it.
Is it okay, Celestine, at this point to amend the agenda once we've started the meeting? We don't have an attorney here.
Yeah, you can
Tell me
amend,
this.
you can amend the agenda.
Yes,
Is it
Chris Chesky says, you can, here's what I'd
We've
like to
done it.
propose. I would like to amend the agenda. What? Oh, everything is frozen. I would like to, this is my motion, to amend the agenda. Okay, to amend the agenda to move item 6 to the informational portion to make it, so let's make it the last one, 4. Let's move it to number 4 and include it in the update on federal funds allocated to states and municipalities, but roll all of that together. No? Yes? Like, I can't hear people, but I can see nodding. Oh, man.
That's okay.
Okay,
That's
and then,
fine. So
and then
that's
I would
your-
like to move number 8 up to before number 7. Let's move number 8 up to before number 7. And I think I'm going to get my technical person to come in here. Mr. Dorf?
Okay.
I'll second that.
So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second,
I missed who seconded that.
Celestine.
Second by Celestine. Okay. So yes, motion to move number 6 down to informational, include that with number 4 in informational, and move number 8 up, and it will now be number 6. And there was a second. All those in favor?
I'm on the
Aye.
right internet.
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? No opposition, so that has been moved. So we are now on, it's
I'm good.
number 8, now 6.
It should be on.
So we are now on item number 6, discussion with possible action on identifying new polling locations, including outline the parameters for choosing a polling location. And then it gives examples, which I won't read, and I will turn it over to the floor.
Okay. So
Yes, Alderdorf.
maybe Kim has something to say before I start telling you what has happened, or?
Sure. Go ahead, Kim.
It's just, I thought there was kind of an issue with trying to get to lower amount of polling locations. People fight on it every single time, because that's why we've slowly been trying to combine them and get less places
Okay,
out
this
there.
is,
I don't,
Okay. This is for the COVID-19 state of emergency. This is not forever.
Okay,
We're an ad hoc committee
Okay.
for the next 2 elections, where that's all we're talking about, because the next 2 elections are
Okay.
what will be impacted. And possibly in the future, there will be more. We don't know when the vaccine is coming, but we know for sure August and November. So our committee is just, within that August, November election. That's it. So here are the thoughts to put forward. We would like to have, of course, more than 2 polling locations, because obviously 2 did not work out well. So hopefully to get 5 or 6 on each side of the river. Now, my understanding was that we already had some locations that pulled out. Is that right, or is that wrong?
That is accurate.
Did some pull? Yes. That is accurate. See,
Yes, that's accurate.
This is what some people sometimes are surprised at. We don't get to decide who's really a polling location. We can approve a polling location, but the people that own the church or the school or the UW Green Bay, they have to invite us. And if they decide because of COVID-19, we can't come in, then we can't have that church anymore or whatever. So I was on a mission to try to find some polling places that would be larger. Here's the sad thing that kind of happened. I asked a school board member to place us, our committee or someone from our committee, on their June 1st agenda. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, yep.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I asked them to place us, and instead of doing that, the school board member went to the superintendent, who isn't even going to be here in August and November, and she just said no. Well, that was not what I was asking. When I was responsible for school security in Green Bay, I was the one that actually led the charge to get the polling out of the schools. The reason being, there was no security provided with the polling. So I had asked, could we come to the school board with a plan that would include, and I've already talked to the police department, that would include police security, that would include us doing whatever cleaning, having whatever traffic control would be needed. I wanted to roll out a plan and be able to address any of their concerns. As the former person in charge of security, I know how this works in the schools. And unfortunately, the superintendent said, no, we can't be on the agenda. Now, it is not ending there. I believe, not me, is going to talking to other school board members, because what we really need, if we could get East, West, Preble, and Southwest, those 4, that would be great. We talked about that last time. What a good place that would be in those 4 places. In addition, of course, we'd have more than that. And they're already AD accessible. There's already parking. We already know how to set up in a school. There's heat, there's fans if you need fans. The schools would be perfect. And it would not be a middle school. It would not be an elementary school. And it would not be beyond these 2 elections. I even was going to propose maybe have a staff development day for the high schools that day. I know it's up to them, it's up to their calendar. But when there's a will, there's a way. And I am sincerely hoping that the school board, if they even find out about this, will let us, give a plea to them, actually, that we really, for these 2 coming elections, we need some help. Once this COVID is over, maybe we go back to our polling, the 31 places or the 30 or whatever. But in this election, so the 4 schools was a place to start. I reached out to UW Green Bay. At first they were like, we're not sure. But then the mayor also responded on the email I sent. And they're like, yes, UW Green Bay is going to be a polling location. Thank goodness, because they weren't last time. The UW Green Bay was closed. That's a nice big place too. So then if we get the schools, which we may or may not, and we get UW Green Bay, that's 5 right there. and fairly big ones. So you can have fewer poll workers, but within, but you still could have the table set up for each individual ward. And I had talked about that with Chris, who was raising her hand, I think.
That was me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know me.
Clerk Teskey and then Terry also. Go ahead, Clerk Teskey.
Oh, okay. That's what I was wondering, Alder. And to kind of get back to what Kim was saying, we heard from Alder Weary, who wanted all the polling locations open. I'm hearing from poll workers saying I'll work if I'm at my regular place. He changed his mind?
Oh, I can't hear you. Clerk.
Clarification.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Alder Weary is 100% on board with reduced polling locations, 100%. Okay?
Okay.
He changed his mind.
Poll workers, some poll workers will not work unless it's at their site, which I'm counting them as a no then. They don't want to work in a big site. And my other question was, are you looking at it different from how it was done last time? Because the mayor wanted one table, one table for the whole west side, one table for the whole east side. And then the two girls that worked, they on their own split it up. I mean, they called me, but they split, one had 2 tables, one had 3. So I'm just wondering if that's what you were thinking, that we would have a table per ward, because then we will have machines at the end of those tables for them to put the ballots in. My only issue is we are going to need more people then, just so you're aware.
No, right. We need 100 people.
More poll workers.
We have to have more than 19 people. Poll workers. We have to have that. Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have this.
No, we'll need more than 100.
So, but we don't. Oh, we'll need more than 100. Why?
Oh yeah.
Because if we have reduced.
At least.
Okay.
So when you just looking at doing each ward as a table, for sure you need 2 people there. So other than Ward 1, so we'll count 46 times 2, okay? So that's 92 people there. Then we need a chief inspector for each location. You girls think that, I would ask Karen and Terry on that, if they think that would work, that each chief inspector would take care of, say, 5 wards at a polling location separately, not like you did it in April. That would be a question. Then we need people at tables for registration in November. Who knows how many people are going to come out, but Kim, how many did you do at GB for a presidential? 500 just for that ward registrations?
That was a governor's election, and it was 544 just for Ward 3.
Okay. So we need a lot of people to do registrations. Yeah. And I mean, hopefully people are going to absentee.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Terry.
So Barb, I do like the idea of the extra schools. I know this wouldn't be ideal, but if we could get them to even just give some sort of commitment for at least August, that would give us something to work with to get this election rolling, So I mean, if we had to, could we nix asking them for November if it meant we could get something from them for August?
Hey,
just so that
I can't even get them to listen to us right now. I can't even get to the school board right now. I don't know as a citizen or as an alder how I put an item on their agenda, but so far I haven't been able to do it. So I'm hoping that the mayor who is taking over will do it. Yeah, so we may just have to throw the schools out if we can't even get them to listen to us. I do think it would be better if we had August and November as consistent places, right? Everybody probably agrees
Yeah.
to that. But,
It-
yeah,
it would be helpful,
we
but
will do
I
what
hope
we
that-
need to do, Terry.
You know, and I think we'll just
We'll-
have to make
we'll
sure
do-
the public is aware. I mean, they have to adapt at this time too, just like us.
Well, we would hope. We would
Yeah.
hope that they would. Besides that, okay, there's other places we're looking at. Places that this, like, for example, the police chief has said the police parking garage, which I've been to picnics in there and I've been to Christmas parties in there. It can be heated. It's a nice big area. The Bay Beach Pavilion is another place. But how many, are you guys good with like 10 polling places? Can we see, is it feasible to do 5 wards at each polling place? Is that feasible, Chris?
It depends on the location, how big it is, you know, because we want to make sure we're doing the social distancing. You know, there's no way any of our polling locations right now could handle 5. GB handles 3 in all 3 Phoenix rooms.
Yeah.
So they need to be big if we're doing 5. That's why the gyms are perfect. That's why I thought, you know, the atrium. And I think the police
Chris is calling on the
garage
Yeah.
could fit quite a few. The only issue with PDs is the parking.
Parking,
Parking, right?
parking.
Yeah, when it
is
comes to
bad.
the audit, you know.
Yes, but we could ask the chief for help because there is a parking lot across the street for the you know, maybe the police cars could go over there. You know, again, I think the logistics, we need to find out what it's going to be. I don't think that should block us from trying though.
Right.
You know, it's because
Well,
it's
you'll
logistics.
see that in the audit is what you'll see.
If I ever
And
see
then we
one,
work
yeah.
from there.
Yes.
Right. How about the Bay Beach Pavilion? How about that pavilion? Bay Beach.
I think it's great.
Why
We
did we-
asked for it before. We couldn't get it
Yeah,
because
Yeah, Chris Weary and Barb Ruff are going to get you that Bay Beach Pavilion. So if you think it's great, Chris Weary and I have talked about that. We're going to get it. I think it's big, right? I don't know.
It's
Maybe
not-
this is a subcommittee talk.
well, they had Donnie's funeral there.
Yeah.
So I think it would work. But don't the Friends of Bay Beach have a say in this?
I think it
Yes.
could be rough for August with Bay Beach open.
Yeah, I mean, I think Terry brings up a really good point that if Bay Beach were back to even a quarter of the attendance, then the pavilion is occupied in August. The Friends, you know, they are a very active group, and I am fairly confident Dan Ditchite would want to discuss with them, but, you know, this is a city property. I think that here's what I think is probably important about these areas. So I think it's important for us to say, yes, we'd like to explore these areas, and then have staff work on assessing whether we should even move forward with these areas in terms of their being appropriate for voting. That's what I would suggest. Now, the Green Bay area public school buildings, we have no control over. Brown County owned buildings, we have no control over.
No control. We don't have control over any buildings except our own buildings.
Well, that's
And
right.
those little pavilions are too little. Most
Yes.
of them are too small,
Yeah,
right?
they are, and they're not, the park shelters are great for the summertime. These are not appropriate places.
Right.
They're also not, there's no parking next to a lot of them, so they're not appropriate. So I would say the easiest thing for us to do is to assess our own facilities. I believe we should start there.
But can I,
Go ahead, Clerk Teske.
and please don't take this wrong, Celestine,
No.
okay? We can't sit on all this stuff. I'm emailing staff on questions and I'm not getting answers. And this can't wait. We need this like yesterday already. And it's really bothering me because I love this group. I think it's great. I think there's great ideas. We don't have very much time. So I'm worried. So if you can be the one to push them along, that would be great.
I can do that. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of our own buildings,
you.
that's something that we should be able to. And there's actually a massive report of ADA accessibility of all of our facilities, every last one of them. So we don't start from scratch. We start with something.
So do we have enough facilities to have all the voting in them?
No.
Oh, okay. So we still need some facilities.
Yes,
right?
but like we can start with our facilities for sure.
Okay, but I think this group should have some kind of a say though on how many facilities total should we try to get? Right? Or is that up to the subcommittee?
Both? Sure.
Whose decision is it?
Us, ours. It's ours to make a recommendation.
To make a recommendation.
Absolutely.
And now all we can do is try to get places to say yes to us, right? I know Alder Weary was going to talk to the atrium. Alder Weary was going to talk to the person that bought the West Side Shopco. And to see if those two were possibilities. Are those things you'd approve of, Chris?
Yeah, just on the clerk list that's going out right now, other clerks feel that by condensing, that's better to not have as many. So what you're saying, I think we're on the right track. I truly do. So, and I can get into other things later about absentee voting, what they're saying too, but they are talking about, condensing theirs also. So I think we're on the right track. And I don't know, I think 5 on each side is good, but I know we're still going to get opposition
Right.
from people.
And to some extent, it depends on the size because condensing is great as long as we get the bigger facilities, like the high schools, obviously. Or, the atrium is huge. The larger facilities, it sounds like we could condense in those more easily than obviously the smaller ones.
Right. Yeah.
I would dance if we could get 2 high schools on each side.
Oh my God, I know.
Anything would have been better than what happened the last time. So even if we got 2 high schools on each side for August, I think we could make it work. We made the last one work. We could make it work.
Well, we
Then
can
we'd have to do
we have UW Green Bay. We will have UW Green Bay, which is awesome.
Well, and even
There's
though it's a perk.
Yeah, so but we can only apparently have 3 wards there, right? So we have 46 wards, right?
We have 40, we have 47.
All right.
But GB has 3 and the one ward only has 15 people. So 2 of those wards are the biggest.
Right, they are. So we really can't plan for more than 3 or 4 wards unless it's a high school. Unless it's a high school gym, we can't plan. Like in the high school gyms, we could do 5. Is that what you're saying? 5 in each of those if we got them? Because we need to know how many.
Well, I don't know for one thing, I don't know how big the gyms are. Gyms that I am used to, we could get more than 5 in. But, the mayor only wanted 1 the last time. What in this environment are we thinking is the correct amount?
Well, more than 2, definitely. We can't have what we had last time. We just can't. We can't.
Right. But that's
So-
going to tell us if we say would get the 4 gyms, how many are we thinking we could fit in there? And then we go from there to know what other ones we need.
What
How
other
many?
ones we need?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you guys know that better than me. I've never worked at a polling location. I really need your expertise for those of you that work. How many?
Well, you know the
What
size.
about if you had, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay, what about if you keep your UWGB thing and get that whole avenue out there and then have the 4 high schools? And then you would have that UWGB bulk out of it and then have 2 high schools on the east side and 2 high schools on the west side. Did you?
But the question is, if we got more than that, what is a nice number to put? Because we don't want it to be super crowded, it takes so long like last time. I think.
But if you have more tables, the more people at the books, then it would go quicker.
Yes.
But
You know,
then
this-
how many people are we? I'm sorry, Susan. You didn't tell me I could
No, go
talk.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're having a subcommittee meeting here, sorry.
Okay. So how many people are we going to allow in? That's what happened in April, is we were only allowing so many people in. So now if we're doing 5 wards, that means we're doing 5 times as many people because everything's opened up now. Are we going to do more people in there? I mean, these are the questions, I guess, that we need to know, because somebody will be standing at the door letting them in. What's our rule going to be as to how many people can be in that gym, that people are going to be comfortable? That's why some of the poll workers don't want to work in a bigger environment, because they think there's more people. They like the smaller, which I don't know, I like the bigger. But so, that's why I supported what the mayor wanted, because I thought he was keeping everyone safe. Now we have to say, okay, how many are we having come in? I mean, because outside those places, then we're going to have 5 lines. So then someone's going to have to pay attention and say, okay, Ward 45 doesn't have anyone. Here's the line 45 to go in. Otherwise, they're going to have 1 line and they're going to be saying, okay, what ward are you? And the people are going to go, I don't know. So people are even going to have to know what lines they have to get into. So, yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
Yes, Terry.
So when I divvied up tables, I had a table up at the front with two books, where people had to give their address, and then they gave them a piece of paper that told them what their ward was. So then as people got in line, when I divvied it up into 3, we put signs up on the plexiglass saying which wards were at what table, so they knew what line to get in. For August, it could work the same way. I would say if we had 6 tables in East with 2 wards at each table, and then they check in, and then just, if the voting machines could handle anybody's, we can send them off to the end, and then off. The August would be a little bit safer if the line has to go outside yet, but you'd have to have 2 wards at each table, and I would say 6 tables could be good, which would make 12. And I actually think it would move rather smoothly.
But I read online where people were mad about they ended up in the wrong line. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at then, so you're going to let a bunch of people in, give them the number, which I had suggested, their ward, but then are you going to have lines inside the gym lining up ready to go to the table when it's empty? Because we're supposed to be keeping the social distancing, or didn't that happen?
Yeah, we are supposed to be
Towards the end of the day,
keeping.
it probably wasn't that great because it was too busy. But I mean, for the most part, it still worked fairly well because the line was outside. I mean, really, majority of the line was always outside.
And that's what was planned for it to be outside, safe or 6 feet apart. So,
And you know, and
Just-
that probably would still happen for August. Weather might be a little nicer maybe.
I don't think we should have any more than 6 wards, and if we're lucky enough to even have the discussion about the gyms, I think we should have maybe 6 wards in each gym. I don't think we should be piling on 10 wards in each gym. I just don't. I know how long it takes at EW Green Bay to have 3 wards go through, because I've been out there enough. And it's better now, right, Chris? It's better. So you just don't have-
the issue there though was the students having to register. That's what held things up the most. But yes, when they moved us from the side of the lunchroom to the Phoenix room, I haven't heard any problems. People
No, there
still don't
haven't
like
been.
voting there, but
Right,
Yes.
right.
I mean, obviously.
I really
the
think we're
idea-
going to have some, oh, sorry.
The ideal would
Terry?
be as many locations as possible, but we may have to just live with whatever we can get.
Which right now is UWGB, and somebody else will have a report later on. I mean, seriously, we don't even have the high schools. We don't.
This is what
Could that report come right now? Could somebody tell us how many polling locations we have? Because Celestine, I think, can.
Yeah, I
go
can do
ahead.
that.
Jeff- Jeffrey's.
Just give me a second to pull it up on my screen. I mean, you won't be able
Oh,
to
we
see
have the
it.
police garage too. I forgot about that. We got 2.
But it needs to go through an audit to make sure it has the right.
It does.
That is correct.
It does need an audit. Yes.
Okay, so we have the people who have said yes for August and November. I'll just give you a number. 3, 5, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. So 13 of the 31 locations have said yes for August and November.
Okay. And some of those are little though, right? Where we can't put extra ones in?
Let's see. I will tell you. So we've got 3, 5, 7. Give me 1 second. 8. 8 of the 13. Did I say 13?
You said 13, yes.
Yep,
13.
8 of 13 have 2 wards. UWGB
All
has
right.
3, but one of those is
And-
really tiny.
and some of those might have to be split.
What do you mean?
Because of social distancing?
Yes, some are so packed, like
Oh.
Christ of the Bay,
Yeah,
Oh.
yep.
packed. Yeah. So that.
Yeah,
one
Ward
would have
4
to
is one of our largest wards.
Yeah.
So Ward 4 can't even, so not only do we need that for Ward 4, we need another one for Ward 4?
No, that,
19.
that we
I
would
would-
need to,
I would leave 4 there, take 19 out.
yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, so, but at least we have 13 places that can at least have 1 ward in them. So now we're down to 47 minus 13 is 4. So now we need 34 wards, right? But UW Green Bay is going to have 3 wards in it, right?
I guess it'd be easier if I could see what,
Yeah, Chris, I'll send it to you. Because
And to me too. Yeah. Okay, then I'll work with Chris on it. Well, good. I'm glad we have some. I mean, that's not 31 and it's not enough because they're too small, but it's something. And now we just got to try to get some big places.
Big ones,
That's
right?
Big ones. We need big ones.
I'm actually surprised, pleasantly surprised by that. I honestly thought the
Me
number would
too.
be smaller.
Yeah, as did I, Terry. I did too. And when I asked my staff to call, I said, be sure that you're really clear about the universe that's going to happen. We're still in a pandemic universe, right? Pandemic's not over, and we're asking for August and November. So
So we lost 18 polling locations.
no,
We lost-
those are
no?
just the
No?
yeses. The other ones, either we're waiting to hear back, or they said yes for August and no for November, or they said
Oh,
no
that's
for
not good.
August and maybe for November. So it's
Okay.
the picture, I gave you a definitive picture of the ones who said yes for August and November.
For 2. And I think that's the mayor has indicated to me, as have other people, that it really would be better if we could have them for August and November, because it would not confuse the electorate. Otherwise, the electorate will be confused. And we don't want to do that if we can help it.
Right.
Are we spending too much time on this, Chair Susan?
There's no motion with respect to this one, so I don't know if we want to, we don't have to vote on anything because there's nothing on the floor. If we want to receive and file this information, I think this one is an active sort of working group, but I'm not sure there's any action required from us tonight.
Well, we would probably hold it to the next meeting then. We don't want to throw it in the file right now.
No.
I would say the motion might be to hold until our next meeting, and maybe we'd have more information to share. Celestine, what do you think?
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay, then I would move that we hold it's the old number 8, new number 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to hold it to our next meeting.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Terry second. That was a second by Terry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And it passes. Okay, so we'll move on to number, what was 7? Let me see. It still is 7, I guess. Discussion with possible action on creating and advertising an awareness campaign for early in-person absentee voting and absentee voting, including associated costs. Yes, I'm sorry, Chief of Staff Jeffries. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So one of the things that I had talked to the post office about was the Every Door Direct Mail. And getting a cost for that is going to be a little bit more involved. It basically involves myself and the IT department selecting routes. So we can figure out a cost of what that would be. But like I said, it's 16.4 cents per piece. And that would go to every resident. So not just, if there's more than one apartment, more than one dwelling on a parcel, it would go to every resident. So that is something that we are looking to figure out. And there's a potential of having some outside money from a nonprofit to help us with those costs. And that would essentially be, and this is kind of along what H and Allison were talking about the last time, making sure that the information was in at least another language, making sure that people have information on this mailer about getting an absentee ballot, where to go, about registering and where to go to register online. And I mean, I think it would be good for us to do. The cost is really, that's the issue. And like I said, it's going to be a little bit more involved. We have 30,000 parcels in the city of Green Bay, but that includes businesses and that includes parcels that have multiple dwellings on them. So I don't know how many residences. I don't know how many residential units we have, so.
Okay. H, yes.
One of the things, if we do something like this, could we have the ward put on there? So that kind of reminds them what ward, it has to be the same for everyone. Okay. I thought, hey, let's do that because they could bring that and say, hey, this is the ward I'm in, and that might help.
Great idea.
Some people read it, some people won't. The thing with the multiple languages, one of the things that I had thought about is with the different communities, if we had it in English, translators, I'm thinking the Somali community, they could bring it to the mosque and they could have somebody there translate it for them because that's where they normally go on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
So that's one thing we could do. And then with the Hispanic community, we could always just go to Casa Alba, Voces del Frontera, things like that they could actually have it translated for us rather than having to have all of this on one big card. It's another suggestion.
Okay.
And yeah. So I wasn't sure if we could get the word on there because that would definitely help us.
Yeah, no, they all have to be the same.
I know I received at least at one point in time a postcard, I don't remember when, that actually gave me my polling location in the ward and so on and so forth. I don't know if it came at the city level or at the county level. But it was something Yep.
Those actually get mailed from the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Like when you register to vote, if you've moved, they'll send a postcard providing what district you're in for each like congressional or school district. But that's just when you register to vote, they send those out automatically.
On election day.
Yeah,
Not
if you're an
just-
election day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Clerk Teske, and then Terry, I saw you had your hand raised.
Again, the WEC, the mayor read the overview of that meeting and said, we'll know more next Wednesday, because they're talking about doing a campaign. When they talked about sending voter information and the form to people, first it was to direct them to My Vote, then have the form in case they needed it. But I also read where they were gonna not send to any community that's doing it themselves. Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand that. So again, when you talk about money, if they're gonna do it, why would we do it? But they're deadlocked on this. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
And Chair,
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
thank you. Chris, do you have any understanding of when they would know that? Like when they're going to say, pull the trigger and then say, yeah, we'll do this mailing, giving people, the voters information about the absentee ballots? Do you have any idea?
From past history, maybe next year.
Alrighty.
I'm going to be honest, because I know a lot of the alders think that the WEC is the be all and end all. Okay. The WEC, the group that we work with on a daily basis, has to report to the commissioners. So even though this group thinks they have all these great ideas, if the commissioners don't agree, which we've seen a lot lately, the deadlock, the 3-3.
Right.
I am so worried that we are going to go through the same thing we did in April with the back and forth, the suing, the overturning. So this is what I'm frustrated with, because I don't know, Celestine, I wish I did, because we could maybe be saving ourselves a ton of money and focusing that money somewhere else.
Okay.
So I did give the website to Susan. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Wisconsin Elections Commission website. A lot of information on there, and you can see where things are, so
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Terry, did you have something?
I think we should use the highway billboards. Get the state to put the My Vote website up on
That is a wonderful
Drive,
idea.
172, 41.
That is a wonderful idea.
And then put the court date underneath, or not the court date. Sorry.
Yes.
Police
Yes.
department talk. The election date with My Vote, with the website address for people to go.
Yeah.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
And I believe those are from the state. They're the ones that
Excuse me.
put the stuff up on those electronic billboards.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Do you know anyone, Terry?
I don't.
Oh,
I don't. Because I don't know if that's state patrol that changes that, or if it's the DMV. Because I'm sure they'll change it for the holiday weekend.
Right. Allison, you have your hand raised.
I was just gonna say maybe this is for the subcommittee, but while this is a particular election, I mean, I could definitely bring back some of the research on what we know about what increases early voting or absentee voting, because I think that sometimes there are things that to me seem perfectly reasonable that, that a billboard would be great. And I've never investigated whether we have research saying that actually does help, right? So that could be something I could bring back to a subcommittee.
Yes.
Just what do we know from research about what helps people vote? What do we know in particular about reaching, particular voting groups? What do we know about partisanship and increasing absentee and other types of voting? There's not a lot of research on the coronavirus. There's a little bit, but the general research still might be useful if we're going to have to make decisions about where to put our money.
I think that would be great.
That's a great idea.
With respect to number 7, because I know I want to be respectful of everyone's time. There's no motion on the floor. Would we like to hold this? And if there's a motion for such.
I make a motion to hold this until the next meeting, and also for Allison to include some research to update us about latest best practices.
Great. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Terry made a second. So all those in favor of holding number 7 for the next meeting, or as moved, please say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
any opposed? And it passes, no opposition. This moves us into informational, which we've already discussed a lot of, but we'll buzz through these quickly. Number 1 is description of early in-person absentee polling and absentee voting processes. And I think this would be Clerk Teske.
So is this where we're going to talk about extended hours?
Yeah.
I think so. Yep.
Okay. So looking at what other clerks, I'm just going to throw out what they're saying. Swamico's thinking of just doing it in August, the 2 weeks before, and noon to 4. They are thinking of maybe doing 3 weeks before for the November regular hours. Here is doing 2 weeks before regular hours, maybe 3 weeks before. So what we've done for quite a few years now is as soon as we can get the ballots ready and set up, we start. So most of them don't. So we have always maximized as much as possible in our office. So what was budgeted for this year is, and I sent it, there's 2 days 2 weeks before, 2 days during the week, we'd be open till 6:30. Then that Saturday, 10 to 4. The week before the election, 2 nights till 6:30. Then that Saturday, 10 to 4, but by law, no one can register. They can only vote on that day. That's what's in the budget right now.
And that's only 2 weeks before? I thought you had said you would be starting about June 26th for the August election.
With regular hours, just our regular. That's our regular. Yeah.
Okay, just so everybody's clear, you'd still be having it, but what you're talking about is extra budgeting for later
Overtime.
weeks.
Okay. Right. And Celestine, I know, a couple things. First of all, we only want to do it if the glass is up and ready to go in the clerk's office.
Oh, absolutely. And it should be,
Thank you.
Yes, we are fast tracking that. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then the other thing is, let's see, now I lost track of what I was wanting to say. The overtime. So Celestine, the mayor, set forth yesterday, was it yesterday or day before? My days are running together. No overtime unless it's an emergency. So I didn't know if what we have in the budget is okay to do, because it will be overtime. And
Oh,
and-
for the extended hours?
Yes, and Kim and I can't, there's no way we can work like we did in April.
Yeah.
There's just no way we can do that anymore. That was just terrible. So, and Kim and I are the ones that know the system the best. So, you know, one of us has to be there to troubleshoot if there's issues. You know, I was thinking Jamie, but I don't know. That's not really in her job description, I hate to say, but, you know, that's brought up. So I don't know what you guys are looking at to extend it, because other clerks are making it even smaller. And I know we want to let people vote, you know, early, and that's great and everything, but we still have to remember that we still are in the pandemic.
So, you know, let's have this conversation again with the mayor, just to, no pun intended, take his temperature on it. Because you know, a lot of the conversation we have really only two choices when it comes to voting. Either people vote ahead of election day, or they vote on election day. And so we want to encourage people as much as we can to vote before election day. So that means early in person. And yet, in order to preserve, you know, the mask wearing and the social distancing and the cleanliness and as you said, to also observe our unfortunate budget situation where we need to be very careful as we assign overtime to people. I would not presume to guess what the mayor's decision would be on that. So I think we should talk to him about it.
Okay. And just to keep in mind, people, even if you give them, well, first of all, by starting as early as we do, people forget then that they voted. And they'll call us and they'll say, you know, I didn't get I need an absentee ballot, I didn't get it. And then Tim or one of us will look it up and we'll say, we already got your ballot back. And that's understandable. It's totally understandable, you know, when you do it that far out, and life goes on, you know, and then we get them where they will vote that early and they go to the polls. So then we have people that, for November especially, people will not vote real early. They wait until the last 2 weeks because they don't know yet who they want to vote for. So I don't care how far out you do something, that doesn't mean they're going to come. And don't think I'm trying to discourage, because I'm not. I'm just telling you what we see for an election. Okay?
Somebody might change their mind and have to come in and change their vote.
Holy cats.
3 times. They can do that 3 times, yes.
I know. I know.
Kim?
I was just going to state that a lot of times people will come in and change their vote up to that Friday before the election, because they can, if they vote too early in advance too.
Terry?
No,
Oh, okay. All right, anything else on number 1 for informational? If not, we'll move on. And 2, we've talked about the update or the current polling locations, 13. What about the status or number of poll workers? I know you've been emailing and calling. Do you have a number on yeses or?
Yes, I do. I have 90 yeses, 93 no, and 92 no reply yet.
Okay.
90, and the 90 yeses I feel are pretty, you know, a pretty hard yes.
Okay.
There's some in the no's that, you know, depending on where the virus is at, we might be able to persuade them, but I'd rather count them as a no and call them if need be, because that's kind of what happened before. But the 90 yeses are pretty hard yeses.
Okay, good.
That's actually, and let me just also, if I may, Chair,
Yes, please go ahead.
offer part of the rationale for using 2 polling locations was the number of poll workers. And so we had to let the number of poll workers lead us to making a decision about how many polling locations. So, it would be fabulous to have more poll workers. So let's say we did 5 places on each side, a total of 10, right? It would be great to have more poll workers, especially because we are going to need people to corral other people. Like we're talking about making a line. Which ward do you vote in? I don't even know. I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure which ward I vote in because my ward has changed. So I think it would be better to have more. But if we've got 90 hard yeses, and these are people who I believe understand that we still have a pandemic. We may be in the same exact situation we're in now with rising cases. Cases went up again yesterday. Cases right? So the worst case scenario is that not much has changed. Well, worst case scenario is that it's actually worse, right? In terms of the number of cases. So I think we have to also just think about poll workers, how many we have, and that interplay between the number of people who can work and the number of polling locations we have.
Clerk Teske?
We also, how we had it worked out for April, I had extras because I knew people would need a break. And the chief inspectors did what they had to and used the people and spread out more. But I would really like to have people to give them breaks because I don't want them eating at the table. They shouldn't be eating at the table. And that didn't happen. I think, Terry, you said you didn't go to the bathroom all day.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah, pretty close. I think only 3 of the people that I did have actually ate at the table, and the rest of them didn't eat all day. And I offered my lunch, my snacks. So even when I made the calls on Friday to see who could go, between Friday and Sunday, I had lost 3. I actually had one person that tested positive for COVID-19 that had been quarantined. I had another person that was a nurse who had been told if she works it, she will have to quarantine and could not come back to work for 14 days. So I had people that needed to drop out between Friday and Monday that didn't realize they were going to be dropping out.
My list dwindled too.
Anything else on that subject? That's actually a higher number than I anticipated, so that's good.
H.
Oh, sorry, H. Sorry, I'm watching Barb's pointing. Hi, H.
Question. I know the National Guard was available to us. Do we know if they're going to be available to us in the next elections?
Yes, go ahead, Clerk Teske.
That's another WEC issue because we were told before the election last time that we would get help before the election, never got it. Then I didn't find out until 2 days before the election that we would even get help. Well, by then we're all planned out. We have everything planned. So somebody made that comment and Alder said, well, can't you train the National Guard ahead of time? And I'm like, well, unless the governor calls them out to do it. And now someone brought up the fact they're doing the testing sites. I don't think they'd pull them from that to do. So I'm afraid, I mean, if I knew we could have them and we could train them and I could have them for both elections, I'd take them in a heartbeat. But
well, the reason I was asking is because, the corralling, getting people to go in the right area, keeping social distancing. If we had them, that would be a great job responsibility for it. This is what I'm looking for. That's why I wanted to ask, because I didn't know if we knew that we were going to get any. So that's why I wanted to confirm.
Yeah. I wish I knew.
Alder Dorf.
I know in a brief conversation I had with the mayor, he would not be opposed to asking city staff to do some of those types of jobs if needed. He felt, I don't want to mischaracterize what he said, but we know a lot more about how to protect ourselves now. It's not like it was in April. People are more understanding of what's going on. So he had told me that if it needed, he would get city workers to cover some of these things as they do in Racine. But maybe he just said that to me. Celestine, has he ever said that to you, or Teskey? I don't know.
Yes. Go ahead, Celestine.
So I think that what we're doing right now is we are making sure that we're asking for volunteers to do some of the work we know has to be done, which is that absentee ballot processing. We are also making another second pass for poll workers for city staff. I wouldn't say that I've had a conversation with the mayor about essentially commandeering city employees to do some of those corralling kind of duties. It's not out of the ordinary. I think, here's the issue. The issue, of course, is we have no idea what November's going to look like. And, it's one thing to ask a firefighter or a police officer to do something. It's another thing to ask a secretary. So I just don't know. I'm sure that there are other municipalities that do that. So Madison did that in April.
Clerk Teskey.
I'm looking for a lot of city staff for central count, kind of like they help. And because they were fine with that, helping with that. So I'm hoping I can get, I don't know, Kim, at least 115 to help with central count, because most of them that help now are city staff.
Yeah.
So we need a lot of help for central count.
And they actually, because of April, a lot of them have experience with it now too, which makes it a little easier too, because there's not as much, we don't have to train each group before they start processing again this, just a refresher quick. And yeah.
We had help from transit, from PD,
everywhere, parking, inspectors. Yeah, they were from every department, I think.
I just wanted to throw that in there, not taking it away from the polls, but we need it in-house.
Okay. Anything else on poll workers, polling locations? If not, we'll move on to impending deadlines. And I think the only one we had from last time was 30 days in advance of the election. We need to have our polling places decided. Is that correct? Go ahead, Clerk Teskey.
Actually, like I said, they're probably going to ask next week. The 30 days is the cutoff from when we can switch legally. Mm-hmm. The WEC just let us do it this last time because of the situation came up so fast. So they are going to ask us for that information to get their flyer that goes in the newspaper ready. So that's how we need to get this done now.
Alder Dorff.
And some of it we don't have any control over because we don't have any answers. So we can't get it done now. But I guess you and I are going to have to talk next week in our little own subcommittee meeting. We'll have a subcommittee meeting. Okay.
Okay. And we can always publish our own, I mean, I could tell them we're not going to this time, but I think that's a big cost. You know, to do our own publishing. That's why we do it with all of Brown County. And maybe I could ask if we could just do the polling locations separate. I don't know. So yeah, we can talk next week. Just to throw that out there.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? That one?
The deadline for absentees.
Okay, and that is?
I mean, how I mean that is if we could get that information out to the people so they have it before June 25th, because it's easier to do the big batch all at once. The way the system is set up right now, it's better to do it in a batch than to do them all individually unless the WEC makes changes, which I have a feeling that'll probably happen for November and not August, but I can hope. So, you know, we want to get that information out as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because it helps us.
Do we have anything to do with that then? As a committee, do we have anything to do with that?
Well, if we're going to do that advertising, what'd you call that, Celestine, the mail?
Oh, every door direct mail.
Yeah. That would have to be like soon.
I know this is, it only covers a certain sector of people, but could we put out on Facebook or social media, perhaps from the mayor's Facebook site, you know, or it could be from I'm not sure that many people follow the clerk site, no offense, but perhaps please don't take offense, but anyway, just an idea of a free advertising that would sort of alert people, and then other people could grab that, you know, the mayor or the city. I don't know if the city of Green Bay has a separate social media site.
Yes,
but
we
perhaps
do.
we could use that. I'm not, you know, that's not my forte, but then, you know, different city entities could grab that particular advertisement with the date and the, you know, just click on here. Here's how you can get your absentee ballot, et cetera. And we could start that now. Kim, you had your hand raised?
Well, we already do put everything out on the city Facebook page, like when the early in-person voting starts, what the hours are, the days are, we put it on the webpage. I've personally gone on my own Facebook page and always put a be nice to your coworkers message out there, you know, kind of a thing. But we do a lot of the whatever we can free already.
Okay.
So.
Can you send it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you send it to like the members of the committee, something that we could copy and paste and post? And then like, I know other alders would post on their Facebook pages, but just if somebody could just give us the right wording and the thing, is that possible?
Clerk Teskey?
So if you are on the city's Facebook, you know, you will get that and then just share it.
Has that already gone out? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Has that already gone out?
No.
Is it? Oh, it's not on there right now. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, we usually do it when we have the ballots. What you're saying, Susan, is do it now to tell them they can do it now.
Right. So
Yes.
in advance, so we would have more people know about this date, so they would request it before June 25th. And I could, you know, I don't think it would be overkill to do it once a week to post it. It would, you know, or pin it or whatever people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that now, and then we can all start sharing it and see what we can do. See if we can get more people. Yes, Chief of Staff Jeffries.
So, what we have on our website, we have, you know, a top bar. We have some buttons. We have some slide out, and we have COVID-19 resources, government, department, services, business, explore, and how do I. And so I think what I'm going to ask our webmaster to do is to add how do I vote up here. So, and then that should also, I believe that would, if enough people click on it, then that would be one of those things that if you Google Vote Green Bay, then that should come up. So I think I'm going to ask her to add that to how do I vote.
Great.
Um,
Korteski?
yeah.
Well, H and I talked, and I loved his ideas on the Somalis. He's got that all figured out how to get that to them, and I loved what he was going to do. As far as UWGB, we tried getting that information, and I know Kovo did too, to UWGB to get the kids to maybe register ahead or ask for absentee ahead. And I understand they're not there in August, but if we could get something going for November, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, H, you could correct me on this. Did St. Norbert, did they decide to do something in their welcome packet?
I believe they did, and I'm having a meeting with them to get more information of what they're wanting to do for the
Okay.
next couple of elections.
Yeah, and we do that for the nursing homes. Kim has got it set up that the activity directors, as soon as someone gets admitted, they go to them and then they say, do you want to vote? And that gets taken care of beforehand. So if there'd be like a push out at UWGB, that would be great.
Oops.
Susan, you're on mute.
Go ahead. Sorry, Allison?
Yeah, and this year they decided we had some election bills we're working at, and they'd agreed to have it at our orientation, but now our orientation is completely upended because of COVID, so it's going to take longer. I can talk to some people about alternatives. I will say we're having a really hard time reaching our students, even with emails saying we have money, emergency grants, respond to it. I mean, the students have had a hard semester, and so I think we should certainly do something, but I'm not incredibly optimistic that we're gonna get a lot of success, depending on how much we're in person in the fall. But in the future, in H2, they have agreed to have it at freshman oriented.
And I know we tried the newsletter too. There's some kind of a UWGB newsletter. If we could get it on there.
Just one thing with the UWGB students that I've noticed repeatedly over the last few bigger elections, or even the smaller ones, I think a lot of them think they have to register every time before they place their vote. If we could incorporate that somehow, that if you registered and haven't changed your dorm or your place of where you're residing, that they're in the poll book. There's no need to have to do it the 2 steps each time they go.
Unless their box would change.
Right. I mean, if their addresses, but I've noticed a lot of them just keep registering over and over and over again. And they don't need to be doing that if they haven't, where they voted last, that would stay the same if it wasn't different. Or, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, anything else on number 3? Then we'll move on to, did I miss somebody? We'll move on to number 4, last one, update on federal funds allocated to states and municipalities. I'm guessing we don't know how much we'll get at this moment, but is there anything to add to that? No, I see nothing and nothing from Clerk Teskey. That's it. We're at adjournment. If there's a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All
Who's
those in
staying?
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.